Well, welcome back. This is the second of 4 videos looking at resource profiling and doing that from Wheeler's most excellent book on risk management. So we're going to pick up where we left off last video. We went through a number of key definitions that you need to understand to be able to do resource profiling. And now what we're going to do is getting into the heart of what is a resource. Okay, and remember in the book, Appendix A has a whole checklist and questionnaire associated with resource or asset profiling. You should look that over as you're going through this chapter to make sure you're kind of up to date on the nitty gritty of what's involved with the types of questions you're going to ask about a resource. So let's start with measuring risk sensitivity for all of these assets or all of these resources across our enterprise. And the first thing we're going to do is try to simplify the problem. You've heard me talk about this for a number of lessons, that there are a large number of actual assets or resources, hundreds of thousands, if not millions. And the first thing you need to do is simplify, and do that by profiling environments, not individual systems. So don't try to capture every possible mobile device, for example. Instead, group those together as an environment and profile that environment. You'll need to come up and make a resource list. Once you've done that, start to create a security profile for each resource. And as you might imagine, all of the things that we talked about in the last video are the things you're going to look at. You're going to look at risk, sensitivity, tolerance, threshold values for each one. You're going to determine, are there any regulatory requirements for each resource? Is this a FERPA, HIPAA, or PCI or FISMA resource that has a regulatory requirement associated with the protection of information on that? And then you're going to tie it back to the business, because again, we don't do risk management for risk management's sake. We don't do information security for information security's sake. We do it for the business to create business value. And so you've got to link that back for the resource. And as you're doing that, you've got to make some determinations of what is a resource. So here's the kind of definitive rule from the book, which is not a definitive rule. It's, something is a resource if you can think about of a single direct vulnerability for each item you want to consider. If you can't do that vulnerability, then it's probably not a resource. So look at those 5 on the left, and I'm going to give you a second to look at those. A physical site, a building, a facility. Data types like social security number, employees, reputation, trash, or firewall. So which or are all of these a resource? What do you think? Why don't you go ahead and write them down. Yes, this is a pregnant pause while you're writing. And the answer is none of them are. None of these are. And you can see the discussion over to the right, but the book covers this in about 2 paragraphs where it talks about each of these specific instances and talks about why they're not a resource, that you probably want to consider them something other than a resource. And you can see some of the discussions. Now, I will tell you, trash they don't really talk about, but hopefully you didn't think that trash was a resource in terms of doing resource profiling. All right, so we've done this. So what are some resources? How about that mobile device, which is a container? How about these systems or a peering partner? Those are. And here are the kind of categories that you would find out there. So facilities are out there, but it's going to be the right type of facility to be considered a resource. All right. And so these are the types of things that you're going to want to try to find in your environment: applications, infrastructure, environments, some facilities, not all, business units, and then vendors. As you're looking at the information you need to collect, you're going to have each of these categories associated with it. And again, the book does a good example of helping you here because it's got Appendix A. It shows you a at least starting point of a questionnaire that you would use for resource profiling. But yeah, you're going to need general information. Where is it? What is it? Some of the functions and features. Where in data classification is the information within this system? how critical is it, applicable regulations, which we've talked about, and then the user community associated with this so that you can do the communications and have the right people involved. All right, very good. This is going to finish the second of 4 videos looking at resource profiling. What we've done during this video is talk about what a resource actually is. And what we're going to do in the next video is dig into that risk profile a bit more, and then from there, move into risk appetite and thresholds one more time to make sure that you understand those key ideas. So keep on studying. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.